Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me on the video. And today I have got a meaty information packed deal for y'all today. We're going to give y'all a Swimjig seminar because at the time of filming this video, it's the mid part of May. And really from about the mid-May to the end of June, I think is the #1 time of year to fish a swim jig. So we have got a lot of stuff to cover today. This is going to be a really good video. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it and get a lot of good fish out of the end of it here. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. I'd like to invite everybody to please hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling if you'd like to. If you like the content, that's a good way to support the channel. Free and easy to do it. We're really working hard to try to get to the 150,000 subscriber mark and grow the channel. So really appreciate you guys hitting that. And also, please check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns out, guys. I got them up on the website. We got our summer maps up. These are maps I built for Fish the Moment that gives you just a great resource to learn more about a favorite lake of yours or one you've never been on to before. So I'll have that all those links in the description of the video. Okay guys, a swim jig, it is probably one of the funnest baits you'll ever fish. And one of the reasons for it is it's a very versatile lure, and it is a bait that you see the fish hit a lot. It's almost like a topwater lure. And let me give you a little preface here, guys, of what happened here, because I sort of think I was on the cutting edge of developing swim jigs back many years ago. I remember I was fishing a tournament at Lake Dardanelle in Arkansas. This was back in the 80s. And back in the 80s, guys, nobody even heard of a swim jig. No, it was not a thing back then. Nobody fished a swim jig. There wasn't any swim jigs. Nobody talked about fishing a swim jig. Everybody just either flipped and pitched a jig or casted a jig. And I was down there at Lake Dardanelle. And if you've never been to Dardanelle, there's a lot of shallow vegetation in dirty water, like shallow vegetation in less than 2 foot of water, like gator grass and just a mix of different shallow stuff. And I was flipping and pitching my, traditional 1/2 ounce black and blue jig with a black and blue pork frog on it, flipping it and pitching it in holes. And I was catching one here and there, but I started noticing about midway the day, I pitched in there and I was reeling the jig back into the boat, and about a 5-pounder come up and just clobbered the thing as I was reeling it in. And I just thought, well, that's just a fluke deal because, that never happened before. And about 5 minutes later, the same thing happened. I pitched the jig in, I was flipping it in the grass there, and I got ready to make another cast. I'm reeling it in, and another big one came up and ate it. So it didn't take me very long to realize they want this jig reeled in swimming. We just reeling a jig. And guys, for about a 2-year period, I caught a ton of fish swimming a jig, and I never talked about it. I just say, well, I caught them flipping and pitching a jig, or I caught them on a jig. I never said I was swimming it. And eventually it got caught on. Co-anglers saw you co-anglers would see you doing it. They'd talk about it, and eventually it got caught on. So as a result, a whole new technique of swim jig fishing was fished about, and they developed a swim jig specifically for it. Now, the jig I'm going to talk about today, guys, you've heard me talk about this before. This is the Megabass uzoe swimmer. This is the best swim jig on the market. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description to the uzoe swim jig. You definitely want to get some of these guys. They're awesome. Reason for is designed specifically for swimming. It's got the fish head design, which allows the bait to run straight like that, doesn't run off to the side. It's got a nano coat, about a 3/0 hook in it, nano coated hook, super sharp. It's got a nice, built-in trailer on it, or a keeper on it. You can't ever get this thing off of here. Hand-tied skirt. The thing is just, the attention to detail on this is second to none out there. So that's the setup. That's what a swim jig is like. But I want to talk specifically about colors of swim jigs and how you pick your colors and how you pick your sizes and line size and equipment and the type of areas you get into. So first of all, guys, I've got 4 primary swim jigs that I use, and I will talk a little bit about each one of them as far as when they work the best. Now, the first one, there's 2 different ones that I use. One is like the 1/2 ounce Megabass uzoe swimmer, and I've got a Zoom Super Chunk on it here. And then I've got a smaller version. This is the 3/16 ounce uzoe swimmer with a little Megabass Spark Shad on it. And this is quite a bit smaller profile. This 3/16 ounce versus the 1/2 ounce, a lot of different situations that they work in, but this is the one that I throw in the month of May. I don't use different colors in the month of May. In the month of May, there's a ton of shad spawning, and that's why you want to use a shad pattern swim jig during the month of May, regardless of the water clarity or where you're fishing at. Now, the two different scenarios for this is I fish the 1/2 ounce, the bigger one, if the water is a little bit thicker cover, if the fish are a little bit bigger in the lake that I'm fishing, if the water's dirtier. This super chunk here, it doesn't swim, it doesn't have, you know, swimmy legs on it. So when you throw this super chunk out there, you have to like throw it out there and shake it like that as you're reeling it in. And that causes this tail to undulate through the water. And there's something about this big tail on here, on this larger swim jig, that really attracts the bass. And also the Megabass swim jig has a little spinner on the bottom of it as an added attractor too, which sets it apart. So this would be my heavier cover, dirty water type swim jig. Now, if I'm fishing the water, it's a little bit cleaner. And when I'm talking about clean, guys, I do not fish a swim jig if the water visibility is over about 2 foot. A swim jig to me is like between 6 inches of visibility and about 2 foot. But if you're closer to the 2 foot visibility, that's when I downsize to the little 3/16 ounce model. There'll be spark shad on there. And with the spark shad on there, since it's got the wobble and tail, you don't really have to put the action on it. You can just reel it in. Occasionally, I'll shake my rod once in a while, but you know, on that type of a deal, the tail works really good on it. We'll talk a little bit about the areas here a little bit later, but I just want to go into colors now. Okay, now once you get into June, the shad spawn starts to die down by June, and the fish start to really key on feeding on perch. This is when you want to use a perch pattern. Again, Megabass uzoe swimmer, sort of a perch pattern. I've got the Zoom Z-Craw on it. This is the watermelon candy. This is a good perch pattern imitation here that works really good in the month of June. And in the month of June, we'll talk about what you want to fish it around here a little bit later, but you're basically keying on the type of areas that the perch are spawning in. And same with the other things, guys. Throw it out there, reel it in, shake it a little bit. Pretty simple. And the fourth color that I use, this is more my color for like what I consider the dirty water color or tannic water. So if you're fishing a lake that has a lot of aquatic vegetation, like your lakes in Florida, down south, Georgia, Texas, guys, a black and blue one is going to be the color you want to use, especially during the month of June. Black and blue in that dirty water, tannic water, it works really good. Another time that a black and blue is going to work good, guys, is in the pre-spawn, like the late pre-spawn when that water temperature is in the upper 50s. It seems like they really prefer a black and blue early in the year like that. But primarily that black and blue for me is sort of in the off-colored water and that black tannic looking water. And another thing about the black and blue, you know, it works good like in traditional type off-colored water, but if you have vegetation, it also works good on the cleaner end, like when the water visibility is about 2 foot. Now, one of the things about it is the equipment that you want to throw a swim jig on is pretty critical. Now, if I'm fishing the heavier swim jigs, like the 1/2 ounce and 3/8 ounce, I fish them all on a flipping stick, because with the flipping stick, you can keep the rod tip higher, and by keeping that rod tip higher, you can keep that swim jig higher in the water column and work it slower. And also with the flipping stick, you can pitch and flip the swim jig into tight areas. Like you can flip it in a boat slip, you can flip it behind a dock, you can flip it, you know, into a lay down tree and just work it 2 or 3 feet. Flipping stick is an outstanding rod to throw a swim jig on. But if I'm throwing the 3/16 model, which is a really light, finessey one, I usually go down to 7'2", medium heavy, like that Megabass perfect pitch, because it seems like it handles that little 3/16 a little bit better. Also on a swim jig, if I'm fishing the heavier, larger profile swim jigs, I use 20 to 25 pound test Seagarn Vizx fluorocarbon. And on the little 3/16, I'm usually using like 15 to 17 pound test Seagarn Vizx. Do not like braided line on a swim jig. A lot of guys like a braided line on a swim jig. You don't need it, it's overkill. If you're dropping that swim jig down, say a foot underneath the water, the fish can see that line. And I want a little bit of stretch, because most of the time on a swim jig, you're not real far away from the boat when those fish hit it. So I want some stretch. And when a bass hits a swim jig, one of the things to remember is a lot of times you can see that fish boil on the bait. You have to resist that urge to set the hook immediately. Let that fish take the bait, drop your rod tip, let it swim for 4 or 5 feet, and then just pull into the fish. On that Megabass swim jig, that hook is a small diameter, nano-coated hook, so you don't have to set it real hard. You can just sort of reel into them. So that's the setup with that. Now, the type of areas you want to fish in the month of May, my number one technique is fishing that swim jig around shady riprap. So it doesn't matter whatever riprap your lake has, or even some rocky banks. Get on those banks early or late in the day, or on cloudy days when it's shady. Just that bare riprap bank or rocky bank is really, really good. And then the other times I fish it is just around whatever shallow cover the lake has. If you got docks or lay down trees or lily pads or grass, just fish it in less than 4 foot of water around any cover that you have. The key depth on a swim jig, in my opinion, is like that 1.5 to 3 foot zone. So make sure your bait is over that 1.5 to 3 foot zone, and just fishing whatever available cover that you have. Now for the perch pattern, this is when you want to go into the flat coves where those bass were spawning, like in April. So if you know where bass were spawning, in June, those perch will come in those same areas, and they'll build beds in the back ends of those coves and the back 2/3 of those coves. And the same thing, take that perch pattern or green pumpkin swim jig, just fish whatever available bank cover is there, lay downs, rock, anything, and pay attention to if you can see those bluegill beds. You don't have to see them, but it's always a bonus if you can see them. Again, keep the thing in sight. You know, those fish will just clobber that perch pattern. When those fish are back there feeding on those bluegills, it's just unbelievably fun. And finally, when I'm fishing the black and blue one, the black and blue one is usually some target oriented or over grass. So if I have a lake where there's submergent grass, I'm going to be fishing it over the shallow submergent grass around lily pads, cattails, spatter dock, whatever shallow vegetation is available. Or if the lake doesn't have vegetation, I'm fishing it around ambush points, like the corners of docks, stumps, lay down trees, that type of cover there. So anyway, guys, that's just sort of a brief little seminar to get you started on the swim jig fishing. Super fun way to catch bass. Once you've caught them on a swim jig, guys, you'll always be looking for that bite. It's just a really fun way to catch some good fish. So hope it helps out. We'll see y'all.